we have seen these some basic activities in risk management. And what are the risks specific to software development? We have seen the example in BBQ party. So let's see what this uh, well-known software engineering researcher said. If I remember correctly, Boehm is a well-known researcher from U of Southern California, USC. Okay, and he listed these few uh, risks that are common in software projects. So, but of course, not everyone apply equally to every project. So depending on your particular company or your particular software team, some risks are more important than others. So you may need to deal with them. For example, skill shortage is one common risk. So hiring the right people on the team is very important. So I'm happy to say that as long as you have the right skills in this job market, all of you when you graduate should have no trouble finding jobs. So because IT employers uh, work very hard uh, they come to knock on our doors all the time to wanting to hire graduates. So your responsibility your responsibility is to make sure that you have good skills that you learn from us. And the second risk, unrealistic schedules and budgets. This sometimes happen in many company. The IT team may be second-class citizen to the marketing people. We technical people always have this complaint because the marketing people they are considered people to earn the business to bring business to the company. So for them, the company valued their contribution very much. But then IT often is considered um, a cost. Okay, so IT people you pay them, but maybe they don't. Some people think IT people don't make money. Okay, not at least not in the way like the marketing people. So, and if the two teams do not communicate very well, then sometimes marketing people would get away with very unrealistic schedules because they know the customers want the product very quickly. So without checking the development team, they already promised to give them in a short time. And also maybe they try to get the business. They try not to charge them too much. They charge them a very low price in order to win the contract. So that could be a problem. So that the company leadership needs to do well. So often is not just programmer's problem, but as a programmer, you have the responsibility to defend yourself. You have to fight for yourself. So if your boss give you unreasonable expectation like this, then you as a programmer, you should speak up. And also, when you become a manager, then you try to negotiate your way around to make sure that does not happen. Um, this third risk is about whether you want to buy some outside software or have some company or have a team to develop your own software. Okay, if you are using some off-the-shelf software, then you know usually they are relatively stable. Okay, but then they are not necessarily tailored for the needs of your company. So you have to adjust your expectation. But if you want to have some custom-made software, then there's a risk that it takes a long time to develop it, and also there's also a chance that the project may fail, the development project. So there's a trade-off to decide to use uh, custom-made software or off-the-shelf software. Okay. Maybe I won't go through uh, everyone here. I'll just pick some to discuss. Uh, Number 8, the word legacy. Legacy software. Do you know what the word legacy means? 有冇人識呢個字啊？ Okay, the word legacy 咧，可以係指如果 if I'm referring to a person, if I say this person leave behind a legacy, that means this person has done something great, and after he's gone, people still remember him. Okay, that's we may refer to a person as he's a legacy. Okay, legacy. But when we say legacy software, we mean different thing. Okay, legacy means software. Legacy software means it's very old software, but it's old in the sense that it's bad. Okay, not old being good, but old being bad. And so, and you have to often, when you're writing new software, you need to make sure that the new software work together with the old software. So old software has this different risk. For example, it is you cannot change it easily because we use the word fragile. Fragile, like the luggage you take on the airplane, or you don't put fragile stuff in the luggage because it may break. Fragile means easy to break. And lots of time, legacy software, old software are fragile. So people, even though they do not meet the new requirements, people do not want to touch it, do not want to change it. Okay, they have to keep running it. But building new software to replace the legacy software totally is also very costly. So lots of time, people would continue to use to write new software to work with old software. So the new software will just have those small additional enhancement, okay, that the old software cannot provide. But so the new and old software would have to work together, but it's not easy. So that's a challenge, and it's also a very common risk. And hiring outside people to this number 9 is what we call outsourcing other people to do it. Actually, how to manage an outsourced project is an art. Okay, many companies do not do it very well. Okay, when they outsource it, they may not manage the developer very well. So that could be a problem. And straining computer science capabilities. Today we talk, in case AI is, I guess, do you know how old is the term AI? And actually, AI is a very, very old term. And when I was an undergraduate student in the early 80s, AI was a very hot field. And then for a while, it dies down. People do not talk about AI much. And then, but in the last 5 years, people talk about AI a lot. And I guess because of our hardware improvement and so on, and also because of big data, people now have more expectation for AI, but then maybe they're expecting too much from it. So when you have a new project, it is possible that you overpromise what the project can do. That means you give the promise this high, but in reality, you can only deliver that much because you thought AI can give this much stuff for you, but you can only give this little functionality. So that is the last risk of you're overestimating the capability of the technology. Okay, so that is a potential risk. Okay, McManus has identified for us a number of other risks. Then you on your team or as a development team, you have to think about these as well. I think actually these ones, both slides show very I guess important risks. So if you become a project manager or take up a senior role, oh, by the way, I think this Thursday we have the set sail event. I hope many of you are planning to go, and we have two previous graduates who will come back, and I think they just graduated not that long ago, maybe 3 years roughly, 3 or 4 years, but they're already taking some leadership role at work, and they probably can echo this risk that they experience. For example, is the development infrastructure stable? Okay, that means do you have a good, productive, stable development environment? Okay, and maybe we talk about straining computer science capabilities. That means the technology cannot provide you that much, and is relevant to this. The infrastructure cannot provide you the capability. If you want to have certain response time, very quick response time, then you need to have the infrastructure that can deliver that performance. And procurement of infrastructure, shopping for your IT department is not as easy as it sounds. Okay, it may appear that if I have money, then I can buy something. But what if you, after spending the money, the stuff you get cannot deliver up to the promise? Is today, if you have a notebook computer, it doesn't perform as fast as you want. You just wait a little bit longer, okay? But if you are running the server for a company and you have several hundred users logging on, if the server cannot deliver, then we're in big trouble. Okay, so this third one is also very important. Multi-site software development. We talked about on previous slide about outsourcing. Outsourcing sort of have some risk on its own because you have to communicate with the company. But if you have people in different sites working on different parts and they don't see each other, even with all the mobile phone and new technology, the communication is generally not as good as everyone in the same location. So this increase a risk. So you have to come up with idea of how to make sure that communication goes well. Okay, so these are a number of things. Sometimes changing regulations may also be a problem, or test strategy. How do you test your product? Communications. And the 10th is users not available to answer requirements questions or to give feedback. These are often common risks. And this one, this is called SWOT analysis. If you become a manager in the future, in fact, I have used SWOT analysis at work at IBM recently for my own job to to discuss some proposed solution to the vice presidents, the two vice presidents of OpenU. So, and of course, that is not strictly about software development. It is more about our education, what some problems or some opportunities OpenU is facing. So even I use it for my own work to propose something to the vice president. So you can think of your use of these something like this to help you present your work to your boss in the future. So what is that? SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And these actually strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, it span 4 quadrants. So it divides all the factors in one of the 4 areas. Okay, if it is about some internal factors, okay, and if it is positive, okay, then it becomes the strength of you. Um, let us take Apple computer. Okay, let us take Apple computer as an example. What do you think is the strength of Apple computer? Okay, something internal and something positive. Okay. Um, for example, Apple have this probably apply to them. Okay, leading brands. Okay, Apple is a leading brand, and also they have some strong technology. Okay, going for them. Okay, and they have customer loyalty. So these are strengths, but of course, not everyone apply to every company. So for a company that's not doing as well as Apple, then they may have less strengths and more weaknesses. Okay. Um, for example, what is potential internal factors that are negative? For example, low customer retention. That means uh, people buying you, okay, may not repeatedly buying you from you again. So we can probably, if we compare the different cell phone company, Apple, LG, Samsung, and Xiaomi, okay, they probably have different in different success. So if they do well, it becomes their strengths, okay, customer loyalty. But if they don't do well in that area, then we say it is they have low customer loyalty and so low customer retention. So after you bought, say, uh, I know some Samsung cell phone last year are known to catch fire, right? The battery. So perhaps that may have sent away some of the Samsung customers. Okay, so that at least for a period of time it becomes their weakness. Okay. Okay. And opportunities, the above are the internal factors, but opportunities out there, they may be changing lots of time. So maybe for us, I mean for the software industry, for many software company, uh, the AI or the new promises of AI or big data could be an opportunity. Okay, and for example, if many of us know about Cyberport and Science Park. They recently have many uh, incubation program. That means incubation programs allow you to allow the startup to get the training, get the support, or get the low rent, or sometimes some money from them. So those things could be opportunities. Okay, and threats. Mm, well, maybe if all in a sudden, uh, perhaps I remember something happened between China and Korea maybe a year ago, so that many Chinese people are not happy with Korean. Do you remember that? Anyone? I cannot remember what exactly it was, but something happened that so it reduces the Chinese tourists visiting Korea. So maybe if you are the boss of Samsung, that becomes a threat because a big market, China, uh, the people don't like to, maybe because of their dislike of Korea or their loyalty to China. So import brands may not be very good. Okay, so because of that is considered something like changing customer taste. Okay, so these are SWOT analysis that by breaking things up as internal and external, positive and negative. So the different way that they cross the two pairs of factors that cross can help us organize these well. And when you're presenting, when you're analyzing it, then it helps you better. And this word is one of the most commonly uh, pronounced wrongly that I heard from student presentation. Okay, how would you pronounce this word? Okay, this is analysis. Okay, as a noun, it is analysis. If you change the spelling, change the YSIS to YSE or YZE, then it's analyze. So analyze is the verb, and analysis is analysis is the noun. So they pronounce differently, even though the spelling may just change a little. So after we have identified what risk, we said we need to assess the probability and impact. Uh, you may think that, well, maybe we can use percentage because percentage is very accurate, right? If you want to say 55% or 60%, you can say exactly. So it's more exact. But does it mean more exact is always better? Well, it's not necessary because when you actually do not really know so exactly, because you don't really know that is 24 or not 23%. Okay, how do you know with such accuracy? You don't. Okay, so it may be more meaningful and also much easier. It reduces your effort to estimate it by just categorizing it. So too much accuracy may not be a good thing. So you can say low, moderate, high, very high. Or sometimes you may use a number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 being the highest probability, 1 being the lowest. And similarly, you can use small, moderate, large, very large, or so it's up to you to, or just small, moderate, large. So anywhere from 3 categories or 5 categories should be enough, okay, for risk management, because it's, after all, it is a prediction. You cannot tell with 100% accuracy. So you cannot say it is 15%, 16%, 17. You don't know. You don't know the accurate answer. So let's look at this project with this three risks. Okay. So maybe for a project, one risk is database systems not able to handle the maximum volume. So where does the maximum volume come from? It comes from the user requirement. So it may, if you use documentation, then you cannot, then you can find it defined in the documents. And as we said, we may not give 55% chance or 21% chance so accurate. So we just use a number or a simple categories, a few simple categories. So another possible risk is programmers cannot learn the new language quickly. So what is this project? Let's look at this project. This project is handling large amount of data and also with possible trouble with the database risk. Okay, and another risk is underestimating development time. Okay, so you can categorize that. If in the exam, if I ask you to work on it, what is a correct answer? Usually, I would give you some explanation of what kind of some characteristics of the project. Then you can base on that characteristics to make up some risk. So there is no right or wrong answer. So you can give an answer that I do not have in my marking scheme, but still it can be correct. And as for the probability and impact, I generally, again, do not expect one correct answer. As long as you can explain why it is high probability, why it is moderate, why it is low, then if you explain well, then that would be good enough. So in the risk planning part, what actions can we do? Risk avoidance means to reduce the chance of a risk from happening. Okay, so avoidance. Let's find an example. The first one on the last slide. Database system incapable of handling the maximum volume. Then this is referring to the product being turned over to the customer, and the customer cannot, at the customer environment, the system does not run, cannot handle the large volume. So as developer, how can we be sure that our product is not affected by this risk? If we want to avoid it totally, we can use something called load testing. Testing, there's one category of testing, is called performance testing. So you want to know how the system will perform in actual environment. And load testing is the kind of performance testing that you give it lots of work to do. Then you want to know, whether it handle a specific amount of transaction. Okay, so if your user requirements is for it to handle 100 transactions per minute, then you can just, in the testing, instead of testing whether it will run correctly or wrong, whether there's bug, you will test it whether it runs fast enough with 100 transactions within a minute. Can it handle it? So that is called, this type of testing. It's not whether it has the function or not. It tests whether it can handle the volume. Okay, so that is called load testing. That's avoidance is one approach, making sure that the risk does not happen in real life. And the other one is you cannot change it from happening. The risk is still there. Okay, so what you may want to do is to minimize its impact or to mitigate its impact. Okay, mitigate the risk. So taking our risk number 2 as an example, programmers not learning the new language quick enough. So maybe your company is moving from Java to Python, okay? And so maybe Python is relatively new for them. Then, and what can you do to reduce the impact of that? Maybe you can hire a Python expert in-house. So your Python expert would come and help other programmers with their Python problem, or the Python expert would come and give a talk, 2 hours, 3 hours to teach them tricks in Python. Okay, so that can perhaps lower the delay caused by people not good at the new language. Okay, so the impact of delay may be reduced from 40 days to 10 days. Okay, if you hire a Python expert for that. Okay, so that is called mitigation. You're not preventing it from happening because our programmers, existing programmers, are not expert in the new language. So the risk is still there, but you do something to reduce the impact. If in case the risk really does not matter, okay? If it's not something very, very important, then you may think, just let it happen, okay? And for example, in case you want to plan for to go running with your friends, and maybe you don't care about raining, okay, raining. So you set to take a risk retention approach. That means you accept the risk as they are. So you don't need to do anything because let's say your friends don't mind running in the rain. So you're okay running in the rain, then rain is not a problem, okay? So different teams, different priorities would give rise to different way of handling these. Okay, and this is coming up is a risk planning example. It shows the risk of holding a competition for multiple schools, and it uses synonyms. Synonyms means words with the same meaning. Okay, for example, likelihood basically means the same thing as probability, or outcome means the same thing as impact. And let's look at it. So this is a project for some school or some organization to arrange a school project competition. And you may give some categories of this, for example, participation, and then supervision. So when it comes to competition, project competition, those are the two main areas. And with the participation, with the participation, please do not start talking right after I talk. Well, even if I don't hear you, you may affect the person sitting beside you, okay? Uh, Even though three of you talking together are sitting together, but you may be affecting people, the fourth person, the fifth person sit next to you, okay? So be considerate, please. And lack of, so if you organize a competition, one of the nightmare is no one enter the competition, okay? I still remember，大約一個月前，應該係第一年，香港有一個防止嗰、個叫做防止愛滋病嘅類似協會咁樣啦，嗰、個佢哋搞咗一個山賽 ，OK， 10公里山賽，第一年搞，咁有梁志雄醫生whatever， 咁嗰啲係啲頭咁樣去搞啦。佢哋搞咗個 event 冇人參加，即係似乎係冇人參加，咁所以咧佢哋就 send 咗 email 咧，就俾我哋學校嘅 student affair office， 咁就話而家唔使錢俾你參加啦咁樣 ，OK， 咁即係咁，所以你可想而知咧，當你搞一個 when you organize an activity, the worst is not enough competitors, so you have to, so I guess for them, they use it, the risk is this, okay? And then what the action they take is they send to university and ask the university to send people. Of course, I only invite the students on our university cross-country team, so it was not open to everyone, I guess. So this is some actions to compensate. So, for example, how did this organizer deal with this lack of competitor problem? Well, maybe they approach 15 schools. So they make sure 15 schools receive their invitation, and they may establish personal contact with someone from that school, some teachers, some management people, the principal of the 15 schools, to make sure that these 15 schools will send some participants to join this competition. So this is their mitigation plan. And lack of commitment, lack of time commitment. So some students enter the project, but then they did not spend time, okay? Or in the worst case, they even drop out because the school project competition may have different stage. The first stage may require students to submit proposal, okay? So after the proposal is submitted, then they move on to the next stage of building the product. And then maybe when they're building the product, they encounter difficulty, they run out of time, they couldn't finish it, then they drop out. So that is a serious problem. So we can give some rating to the likelihood or the probability from 1 to 5. And also outcome means the impact. Also we can give it 1 to 5. So perhaps teams dropping out is quite likely and the impact is bad, very bad. Then so what can be done to avoid this? Maintain contact with them to make sure that there's still interest. And also in the finals, if in the finals competition, only one team left, then there's no competition at all. So one way to do it is to make sure that by keeping the constant contact with the schools, then in the total, we want at least 3 teams in the final. Okay, and how about supervision? If the teacher uh, do not want their students to enter, okay, but they think, oh, maybe the chance is slow because teachers receive pressure from the school wanting to participate and win. Okay, maybe the school want to get recognition, so the chance of teacher not supervising the students is very low. And also maybe if the project is uh, even with low supervision, maybe the students will still be able to do the work. So the chance of uh, lack of teacher supervision is low, and also the impact are low too. We can multiply these two numbers to get the total risk score. Okay, so this is a risk score. So with 3 times 5, we get 15. 5 times 5, we got 25. And if it's very high, okay, if the risk score is high, we would make sure we allocate enough resources to deal with it. Okay, so we make sure that this will be looked after. Okay, but let's say if we think the risk score is low, then perhaps not much needs to be done. We can let it happen. We can afford to let it happen. So this is uh, how we can use ratings in the likelihood and outcome to calculate the risk scores, and then using the risk scores to decide how much effort we need to put in to mitigate the risk. Okay, so let's finish this part and I'll start on the next chapter after a short break.